Good. We do not any longer have national sovereignty. We have deferred too much to the United Nations, the IMF, the World Bank, and the WTO, the NAFTA and the CAFTA agreements, and they should not be part of our system. It's amazing to me how many people in Washington still think that there are no plans to move toward a North American Union. But we're in the early stages of it. Just remember, it took quite a few years for the European Union to develop. But the plans are there. There are individuals in this country, leadership in both Republican and Democratic Party, that would like to bring these three countries together. It's an outgrowth of the NAFTA agreement. And they also are planning a highway from Mexico to Canada, an international highway with the confiscation of millions and millions of acres through eminent domain. So I think we should be very alert to that. And if people believe in national sovereignty, they should be very much aware that the plans are that we will eventually have a North American Union, which is something I want to stop. The European Union started out very slowly and took quite a few years. The people generally were opposed to it, but very often the propaganda and all the effort overcame the resistance of the people. And now today they do have a European Union, which I think ultimately is a organization that will remain unstable because it becomes artificial rather than natural. So I think even if you granted the benefit of the doubt to those who like the North American Union for what they think are good reasons, I think it will be unstable. Just the idea of putting these three countries together. There's still a nationalistic spirit among the three countries. But this doesn't mean that we have to, be enemies with our neighbors. I think the more we can trade and visit with people, the better. But I don't like big government. I don't even like big government in Washington, let alone having super government over our federal government, such as a North American Union or the United Nations or any of these organizations. Just mean more government and more attack on individual sovereignty, which is the real issue. That is one of the reasons why we've been weak on immigration, and we need to reassess that. We should never reward illegal immigration. We should revalue this idea, the misinterpretation of the Constitution, that anybody who is just born here is a natural citizen. That needs to be revisited. Well, the thing that I emphasize the most on the immigration problem is to get rid of the subsidies. Amnesty is a subsidy. Automatic birthright citizenship is a subsidy. Free food, free health care, free education, those are subsidies. So I want to get rid of those. And I think we would have a lot less of the illegal immigration. So I'm positively opposed to illegal immigration. And if we had a healthier economy, I think the American people would be a lot more tolerant of some type of an immigration policy that would satisfy all of us. This is a real problem. Nobody knows how many illegals are here. There could be 15 or 20 million, so practically speaking, you can't round them all up and throw them out, but you can stop giving them subsidies or having federal mandates on the states to provide these free services, which are literally bankrupting our school districts and our hospitals. So therefore, if we did the right thing, say an illegal immigrant commits a crime, I certainly think that has exposed them for sending them back home. But they should never be given automatic citizenship. The amnesty program is just an invitation to get more illegals to come here. I certainly wouldn't give a driver's license to illegal immigrants, and that's what's been proposed. So if you give them a driver's license, it's more or less legalizing an illegal immigrant. So I don't think we should do that. That's a first step on the road to amnesty. At the same time, we cannot solve the problem of immigration unless we address the subject of the welfare state. Welfare does not help our working conditions in this country, disincentives for individuals not to work. At the same time, illegals come here, and if you're in a local community or a state, you're mandated by the federal government to provide free education and free medical care, and that's wrong. We have a chance to do something this campaign and in this election. We can continue the way we've been going, accumulate more and more big government, assume that the people won't take care of themselves, but it's coming to an end. We have financed the warfare state and the welfare state by overtaxing, over-borrowing, and then we resort to printing money, which is destroying our monetary system. The financial markets today are very shaky. A lot of people don't understand what's happening, but there has been predictions of this. It was well known. Bubbles are created by the Federal Reserve System, and to tell you the truth, the Constitution doesn't provide for a central national bank, doesn't even provide for a Federal Reserve System. When the dollar goes down, people are being robbed of their savings because their purchasing power goes down. And everybody holds dollars, so all Americans suffer. Their wages go down automatically. Their standard of living goes down. Inflation comes back. There's a lot of inflation. There's a lot more inflation today in this country than our government's willing to admit. Interest rates will inevitably rise, and this will be very difficult times because we have lived beyond our means, because we spend too much more on our foreign policy, and now we will be forced to live beneath our means. This is the reason the founders insisted that we not print money, that we not have inflation, that they have sound money, gold and silver as money. It's still in the Constitution that you should have only gold and silver as money, and yet now we allow our central bank to print money out of thin air for various reasons, like the welfare issue here at home, as well as maintaining our troops overseas. Inevitably, that will bring us to a financial problem where we'll have to do something about it. It was never meant that the politicians could spend at will, and then if they come up short, they merely print the money. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. No wonder why we have this huge runaway government. We now have a national debt of $9 trillion. We have entitlements of $70 trillion, and we're dumping on the laps of these young people who are upset about what we're giving them, and we need to change it. Now, we got into this mess because we get a bunch of politicians in Washington that like to be reelected and they like power. So therefore, they say, what do you need? You need stuff here, there, whatever. And the politicians gives it to them, and they get reelected. Now, there's something happening now. It's not going to play anymore because the country is going bankrupt. We don't have the facility to do it. Our good jobs have gone overseas. We can't run the war, and we can't run our domestic spending without borrowing $2.5 billion every single day, most of it coming from, unbelievably, the Chinese. This has to change. But it cannot change without a reassessment of what we believe in. Do we believe in the Constitution? Do we believe that we should have the rule of law? Do we believe that sound money ought to be gold and silver and not printed money out of thin air? If we do nothing, it will come to an end. If we do something, it will not be easy because change in plans and change in efforts is always difficult. But let me tell you, there's a way to do it. It's not difficult. It just takes a little bit of logic. If we're spending way beyond our means and we have a government that does things that they're not supposed to do, we'll just say the government ought to do only the things that they're supposed to do. And we were not meant to be the policemen of the world. We are now spending for our foreign affairs and all our activities around the world now close to $1 trillion a year. We can save a lot of money there and make sure that the people will never be thrown out in the streets and that the people will be taken care of if they've become dependent on government. Take, for instance, the terrible situation we have now with our bridges falling down. It astounds me that we don't say very much about this policy that we have, where you pay to go bomb bridges in Iraq, then you pay to rebuild them, and our bridges are falling down here. So what we must do is very simply the restoration of law, restoration of the principles of the Founding Father, restore the revolution that once started. Freedom is not something new and strange, and neither is it ancient. It's recent. The ideas of liberty were really introduced to the world through this country. We have been the freest and the most prosperous country in the history of the world. Tyranny